With Blake 7 episodes, a lot of them, even though some that aren't particularly successful or whatever they were trying to achieve with it, there's still layers and things that are of interest in them, and there's certainly character development and what have you, and the interactions with them. And some of it may come across a little stiff, but at least they're trying, unlike modern takes in science fiction. But for this review, the two episodes are Killer and Hostage. So in Killer, basically, and there's some nods, I thought, to the Mummy. So they come across this old space vessel. They say it's 700 years old, so it shows you how far in the future they are. And they go, oh, look at this. And then Callie, her spider sense is tingling and says, I don't know, there's something bad in there. And she says malignant, and definitely something malignant. Basically, the crew on board had been infected by some alien virus. And they find this crewman and this planet that they come to, which is a Federation planet. But Blake feels compelled to warn them about this. And it's one of these things where the further out they go, there's these planets that are supposed to be under the dominion of the Federation, and yet a lot of them like, yeah, we're not really all that loyal to it. And a couple of these are just, this is a science outpost, and it's like, yeah, okay, it's Blake, whatever. To some degree. Meanwhile, there's two different plots going here. So Blake is trying to warn them that there's something wrong with this ship. They take it in, they don't listen to him enough, and of course, the virus gets released, and it's really hideous. I mean, the corpse they find, which is a corpse, and yet it comes to life very much, looking very mummy-like, and almost the scene from the original Mummy, where the guy's he's in the exam room with him, and he turns around, the guy kills him, strangles him to death. The other guys come in, try to help him and stuff, and by doing so, they expose themselves to this corpse, and thus the weird virus begins to spread. And despite Blake's better efforts, they can't save them, and so it's engulfed by it. And they discover that people who haven't been traveling in space are not as immune to it as people who have, or something along those lines. And so Blake should be fine. But it's just sort of this sad attempt he makes. Had he been successful, it might have won over more allies in his crusade. But meanwhile, Avon, and this is a good part on the attempt here, where you have people that they meet from their past and stuff like that. And certainly with Blake, it's Travis. But here, one of Avon's compadres, if you will. There's no friends for Avon. So basically, he's going to blackmail this guy who's in some position. But Avon had taken the fall for him, and now he's come to collect on the debt. Well, again, there's no friends of Avon, so the guy is already signaled off to the Federation, so they're coming to get him and all that. One of the low parts was the costumes they wore. They wore these weird plastic capes that didn't quite work, and in some cases they looked like they were trying to dress up like cockroaches. But, well, it's the future. You tell me what it's supposed to look like. You don't know. So it's one of this, that's the world Avon comes from, all these backstabbing, crooked guys who are lying to your face and all that type of stuff. But he was after this crystal that was supposed to contain some information that they could use against the Federation and all that. So this is a pretty good run. It's like, the two different plots are going through, and then you have this alien virus, which is another trope of science fiction that you run into. And you better be careful when you don't just go down to some planet and expose yourself to God knows what, which is always a bit of a plot hole for a lot of these, and Star Trek included. I mean, now Star Trek, once in a while they'll mention, they got the decontamination processes within the transporter and stuff like that. But it's like when you have a big budget movie like Alien Covenant, where they just at a planet they weren't even attempted to go to, so they knew nothing about it, and they just, no spacesuits, nothing. They just walk onto it, and they're breathing all kinds of weird stuff. Completely stupid. So, yeah, it's a problem. But here you get an example of, you might want to be a little more careful, because then you'll have these hideous giant red boils on you and everything. So I gotta say, you know, a lot of the other, in the course, in the case of Blakes7, it's a much darker show than Doctor Who was. But even Doctor Who, a lot of times these British science fiction effects they would do for diseases were really hideous. These nasty things could happen to you. And so, you know, a lot of it's like, oh, worrying about violence or what have you, and yet it's okay to watch people rot to death or whatever. So, yeah, okay. So, finally, the next one, Hostage, which I think kind of fizzles at the end. It gets a little tiring that Travis is just a buffoon. He's really no match for Blake. It becomes comical. He's supposed to be this serious threat and villain, but oh man. And then Servalon just says, all right, you know what? I'm going to give you another shot. Because she just wants this extra pawn that she can keep to use, you know, off the books, because now he's just as much a criminal as Blake is. But now there was this cool sort of duel in space type deal where starships fight one another. And I always like those. You don't get a whole lot of them in science fiction. Star Trek certainly introduced it, I guess, with, you know, Balance of Terror is probably their best of that type of thing. And then, of course, on into Wrath of Khan. Here, very similar to Wrath of Khan, but Blake7 apparently did it first, where Blake, in order to escape this onslaught of Federation ships, heads into a nebula, which is similar to how they dealt with Khan's pursuit in the Wrath of Khan. And for the very same reason, you can hide there, and it blocks out the sensor devices and all that sort of thing. So that's cool. It's just, you know, a lot of it couldn't be done as well as when you get to Wrath of Khan special effects. It looks better and all of that, where you couldn't quite pursue it. And one of the solutions to that way back in the 60s for Star Trek, of course, was just to copy the submarine type scenario of battle. And so it works out that way. But anyway, they did a good as job as any, as they could. It's a kind of an adventurous intro for this episode. But anyway, this almost introduces an idea of where Travis offers Blake, says, look, we're in the same boat now, and we should work together against our common enemy, the Federation. And of course, you know, he doesn't believe it or anything. But and then, you know, well, if that doesn't convince you, I got your old girlfriend here and I'm holding her hostage. So I need you to come meet me. And this is where it gets a little odd. If I heard it right, the old girlfriend, Inga, that Blake knew in his youth, is the daughter of his father's brother, so that makes her Blake's cousin. So, well, you tell me. Meanwhile, we do get some outright jealousy from Jenna. So Jenna has a thing for Blake, and that's too bad. I hope I'm not spoiling anything for you. It doesn't end well for them. That's too bad. They could have gotten together. She's way out of Blake's league, but, well, you know, it's either him or what? Avon and Vela, forget it. So, so of course, they do rescue her. Blake goes down, and in this instance, Avon is actually starting to have a conscience, and he feels bad about, he just knows Blake's running into a trap, and so he goes down to help and gets himself captured along with Villa. They're all captured. But things quickly turn on Travis, and it all falls apart. And that's kind of, and then his gang of Cremos. I thought they were going to give him Mutos, but these are Cremos, short for criminal psychopaths. And so there are all these nasty people, and all they want to do is torture people and stuff. And even one manages to take the Liberator briefly, but then quickly gets outfoxed by Jenna and Callie. And they actually teleport him out into space, and you watch him explode. This would happen on Star Trek, but you never saw it. So, screw him. He was a nasty psychopath. So, in the end, Travis gets beaten and is just sort of stumbling around, walking in the dark, and then here comes Servala. Says, well, for whatever reason, because, she wants this extra, bounty hunter after Blake, but good God, maybe he'll accidentally kill Blake for her, at this point. What a mess. So, this one I thought was a bit weaker than the other one, but it wasn't that bad. It was there's pretty good stuff, and of course there is the funny look on Jenna's face, and Blake's like, what? so yeah, all around okay. So there you go. 2 more episodes of Blakes7 as we're closing in on the end of the 2nd season. And, we'll get to that when we do, all in due time. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.